Happy Monday, everybody. I am so psyched to talk to Candido today, and I'm really happy that you are all here to join. So welcome back to school if you are an art educator and if you return to teaching today. So hello. Those of you that are joining the chat now, go ahead and drop in where you're joining us from, and Candido will be joining us momentarily. I'm so excited. So, well, let's get him in here. And hey to all my people that are joining right now. We have a really exciting topic today. We're going to be chatting about why art teachers are artists. Hey, Candido, nice to see you, bud.
What's up, Sarah? How you doing?
Good. How are you doing?
Good.
Good. I'm super psyched to chat with you today. Now, you went back to school today, right?
Today I was there, but virtual. We have a post-holiday virtual week.
Perfect. So it's kind of like a little transition time from having a break, but then also being back in person. So can you tell those of you, like those of our guests that don't know about you, a little bit about you? Like, where do you teach? What level are you? And just a little bit so we can get to know you.
Sure. I'm a 14-year teacher. I have taught all kindergarten through 12th grade. I teach in Central Islip. I've been there my entire career. I'm currently teaching 1st through 6th grade. Everything, right? Creative crafts, studio. I've had my chance to work with the advanced placement students. And yeah, right now I'm just focused on 1st through 6th grade and experiencing pandemic world teaching with them.
Yes. It's like you kind of have to be in it to understand it, I feel like, whatever that looks like. Right. So you said you're kind of both, like virtual, and are you in person a little bit too, or just virtual?
So this year, for this school year, we adopted a hybrid model. So Monday through Thursday, we're actually at 50% capacity. So it's an A-day, B-day system. And then on Fridays, all virtual for everyone.
Perfect. Okay, got it. So that's probably relatable to some of the people that are joining us, which, hello, I'm super psyched y'all are here.
Welcome.
Yeah. So we're going to chat today about a topic that is very near and dear to your heart and mine, and probably some other art educators, about the fact that art teachers are artists as well, right? Sometimes we put ourselves in a little hole where we're like, okay, we're just art teachers, it's what we are, but it's not a just, right? We're also wanting to model what it's like to be an artist as well. So I'm super psyched to chat with you about this because you are modeling this perfectly, right? You create art all the time.
I am always making.
Yes, you're constantly making things. And I just recently listened to your podcast with Nick Hahn, Everyday Art Room, which you recorded, I think, back in October, right? So a few months ago. So y'all should go check that out if you want to know more about Candido. But can you tell us just a little bit about why we're talking about how to be an artist today as an art teacher? Because you have an upcoming presentation with the Art Ed Now conference on February 6th. So can you tell us just a sneak peek about what that conference presentation is going to be and how it relates to our topic?
Okay, so I don't recall signing any non-disclosure agreements, so I don't know how much I can reveal about the actual the actual presentation.
Yes.
So I'm talking about monoprinting. Printmaking is one of my favorite, I guess, forms of art to make. I feel like that one, you can work on it in your free time, and then as soon as you have that plate and that stamp, ready to go, you can just make tons of prints. And so we focus for this presentation, we're focusing on monoprinting. And I brought 2 of the prints. Maybe I can show that.
Yeah. Show us a peek. Because as those of you that may not know, or those of you that have attended the conference in the past, a lot of the presentations are like, we're going to have a huge lineup. We've got a few posted on the website right now, and more will be released later. And Candido is one of them. He'll be chatting all about monoprinting. So he's giving us a little sneak peek here before all our presentations get revealed. So tell us what you got.
All right. So I did the actual video a little post holiday. So it's infused with a little bit of a holiday theme.
Nice.
I called it Revenge of the Gingerbread. And so just one more time. This is what part of the series will look like.
Nice.
So
can you tell us like what materials, because I know specifically for monoprinting, there's so many things you can use, right? It's like a haven of found objects and jelly plates and linoleum and all these things. So what kinds of materials are you going to be introducing us to, or sparking our interest when you talk about monoprinting?
So I had an opportunity to work with the NASCO monoprinting pad, which was phenomenal to use, super easy to clean and to reuse. And I wanted to, I actually, for the presentation, I wanted to, I guess, reveal myself as a teaching artist, or as an artist who teach, and also as a parent. So some of the tools that I used were just materials that I found around the classroom, and I brought in some toys from home.
Yeah, perfect. And the kids, I mean, especially at the elementary level, but let's be honest, I feel like middle school and high school kids like love being kids and love having an excuse to say, I'm using like a toy truck for my art, right? Because they love playing. Right. So I think modeling that in the way that you make your art is really special to them too, right? It's gonna like already engage them. So I guess speaking along that vein a little bit of monoprinting. So you obviously did an example for your presentation, right, and you make lots of kinds of art. So can you tell us a little bit more about your practice with making monoprinting, or what are your favorite kinds of techniques, or what other kind of art do you like to practice in order to be a working modeling artist in addition to an art teacher?
All right. So for printmaking, I would say that I spend more time probably doing lino cuts than I do with monoprinting. So
sure.
I do like to bounce around and try out some different things, but I think to answer your question more specifically is I've struggled for a long time trying to, I guess, find my niche or understand what my style is. Mm-hmm. And my friends and my wife will say, oh yeah, you do have a distinct style, but I'm not committed to any one material or any one technique.
Yeah.
I try to have just as much fun as my students are having. And if I'm introducing something new to them, I treat it as if it's a new material for me too, and I spend some time with it, right? So if we're gonna go with oil pastels for the next month, then Mr. Crespo is exploring oil pastels for the next month, And I think that gives me an opportunity to still explore. I don't feel like I need to be at the point in my life where I need a distinct style.
Completely.
And I can't stress the importance of us being able to create just solely as a passion project.
Yes.
Because, having the art teacher position, you're already in a place where you have a career. Hopefully it's satisfying or you're able to pay all of your bills with that salary. And then all the rest of the time that I spend making art, it's just for fun. And sometimes I get commissions and sometimes I sell my artwork, but really it's just feeding my soul. I'm just making because I want to be able to create.
Yes, completely. And ideally, that is why many artists, if not all artists, create, is because we enjoy it, right? We want to express our creativity. And I like what you said about feeling like you don't have to fall into a certain material, because I was actually just chatting with a couple other educator friends about this. I don't know if maybe you feel this, but it's like, oh, I'm a painter or I'm a ceramicist, right? And you feel a pressure to fall into one material that you like to use. But certainly as art educators, most of the time we like it all, right? We like so much stuff. It's like, all right, I'm going to embroider today, and then I'm going to throw something on the wheel tomorrow, and then I'm going to paint a huge painting the next day. Right. But the fact that we make it from our hands means it has my style, right? So because you make something, Candido, it's going to look like it's made from you, whatever it is. Sure. So maybe stressing less about trying to find a material and more about just literally creating, right? Yeah,
I was going to say that maybe initially I wanted to be referred to as an illustrator just because I love drawing so much. But I think as I've gone along in my career, both professionally in the classroom and as an artist, I would say that I just like to be called a creative, especially now starting a podcast, and that's a totally new venture, and it's still me being creative and learning how to edit audio and edit video. All these routes that I didn't initially study in school. I mean, specifically, I went to study computer aided graphic design was the title of my concentration, but we'll just call it graphic design, right? So I focused on graphic design, and I really, even painting, I didn't take up until after I was done with my undergraduate program. So I would say, we're in a perfect position to just explore and have fun. And if somebody wants to label you, tell them I'm a creative and I'm a teacher. And because I'm a teacher, I get to explore all of the materials.
Yes. Yeah. Completely, literally. And so that, I think that takes the pressure off a little bit, because you don't have to try to decide, well, what kind of artist am I? Well, you're an artist, right? You're a creator. Just like we tell our students, we have so many materials that we introduce them to, and we can love all those things too, but we need to practice modeling what it's like to create, so that our kids can see, hey, I'm learning with you, I'm creating with you, and we're all sort of, I am still a student of art and a student of being a creative at the same time. So I think hearing you talk about that is so inspirational. In fact, let's talk a little bit about that podcast, right? Because
Okay.
there's so many ways to be an artist. And I think that's part of how we talk to our students, right? Is you can be an artist with how you tell a story, with how you dance, with how you cook, right? So many different ways. And that podcast or telling a story is certainly part of that. So can you tell us about what the podcast is, what
Sure.
you do? Just give us a little sneak peek into what that looks like.
Right. So the podcast is really, if I had to break it down to its core, it's really just breaking down any barriers that exist between artists and the people who love them. And it's the idea that instead of listening to just origin stories for artists, understanding that artists are people, and if you gave them a certain topic to talk about, as opposed to just talking about themselves, then they would reveal so much more about who they are. You would understand their artwork, and it would continue to build a community, and that would just be expansive. And I don't know the end goal completely. This was a brand new adventure. It's a brand new venture that I'm taking on with a close dear friend of mine, and we're just having fun. And every episode is feels so different, and we're learning so much. And I would say that I guess, not to diss all the professional development that I've been to, this has been by far some of the biggest growth that I have undertaken, is just learning from other artists in different fields.
Absolutely. And so what's the name of the podcast?
Yeah, the name of the podcast is One Love Art Sessions Podcast, and that's available wherever you would listen to podcasts.
Perfect. And we'll be sure to share the Instagram so you can find stuff like that up in the Art of Ed story after this, so you can follow along. Because I think it's a more unique way to tell stories. Right. Artists love to share their origin stories. They love to share what they're working on. And that is really interesting. But if you break it down into a topic and then ask artists, because I think you have, a couple artists on each episode? And then
we try to have, on average, it's 2 artists.
Right.
And they can be from different fields, right? So they don't have to be in the same industry. They can be from either industry. And it's all based around the conversation of that topic.
Give us a couple examples of some topics that you've done, because as we were chatting previously, I was like, oh my gosh, that would spur such an interesting conversation, spark such ideas. So tell us some of the topics you've discussed in your podcast.
Right. All right. So we've talked about male vulnerability with two men poets. We've talked about obstacles in general, but the guests that we had on were from the film industry. So I thought that was we wanted to take that angle because, with TV series and movies opening back up towards the end of 2020, we were kind of like, how is this happening? How are these things able to get done? So that was an interesting conversation. On our own, sometimes we don't have guests, and myself and the other host, James, we just talk about maybe topics that we want to tackle. And in this instance, we recently talked about community, just the idea of what it meant to receive the support prior to becoming an artist, and what happens once you are an artist. Where does that support come from? The list can go on.
I know.
I think that if you're looking for a topic, at some point we're going to be able to hit it. If you want to listen to the podcast, I encourage you to listen to it. I think it's a totally different experience, and especially for art teachers, what I'm finding is, we have a lot to learn from artists that are not necessarily categorized as a fine artist.
Yeah.
And I think if we spend some time in those conversations and spend some time in their fields, I think we will only get better at what we do, and we can only give more to our students that way.
Yeah, completely. I mean, it's being a constant learner, right? It's growing ourselves so that we can then grow for our students and be better for our students, which I'm hearing. I mean, hearing you say that doing a podcast and having those conversations helps you grow the most you can as a professional. Right. It's pretty inspiring, right? Because you're seeking out that way to be the very best artist you can be by how you tell stories, by how you reach out to creative. So I'm excited to listen more. I think it's going to be really awesome. And you're also modeling to your students different ways to create, right? Because as we know, there's not one way to be creative. So I think that's important. I see a lot of people too in the chat that are agreeing about the term creative or overarching artist instead of necessarily needing a medium or a specific field, right? Yeah.
I think if your career depended on a specific, if you needed to be a designer,
right?
If you needed to be an illustrator, then by all means take on that title. but for I'm speaking specifically for art, or my perspective on art teachers is don't feel like you need to be pigeonholed. Like enjoy it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
completely. And I mean, I'm speaking mostly from an elementary standpoint, but I feel like sometimes the kids in my class are like, oh, Miss K, you're really dope at making that one art teacher example or like this specific thing, right? But like when they learn, oh, you do your own creative process, it's like, oh yeah, there's more to it than what,
Can I share a funny story? Can I share a funny story quickly, please?
Yes.
So I have definitely gone above and beyond drawing for my students towards the end of classes, you know, and like showing them like I can draw, you know, if you give me a Marvel character, I can draw this from my imagination. I don't even need to draw from observation. But the one day I drew an Among Us character is the day that my student said, Crespo, you are an artist. And I was like,
you're like, no.
Oh my gosh. I spent my days showing you all of my abilities.
You're like, it is a rounded square.
We can build trust. And you're gonna give me this, I'm an artist based on this simplified astronaut.
I mean, it's a connection. That's so funny. I feel like we can all relate. It's like the simplest thing that the kids are like, oh, mind-blowing explosions where it's like, oh, you can just whatever. I mean, we know the talent is there, right? They still connect to it. They're still seeing you draw. But yes, sometimes you just got to hit them in the spot where they're
it's just where they're at, right?
Completely. So there are some other things that you work on as well. So the podcast is one. Your presentation for Art Ed Now is one. Again, February 6th. Y'all make sure you check out the website as we'll be updating with some more fun things coming up for the conference. And the last big thing I wanted to talk about was your project called Creatividad, which you do with your son. So can you tell us just a little bit about what that looks like and how that helps you model being an artist?
Okay, so the moment that I became a father, I realized that all of my creative ventures were going to have to revolve around a brand new schedule. My routine was going to change. I was going to need to adopt something new. I was going to have to adapt to my new role as father. And what I've grown to realize is that my best shot at being creative or constantly being creative is to engage him in my journey. And so I recently just decided like, hey, let's just make this a thing. Creatividad, which is just Spanish for creativity, with an emphasis on the dad. So Creatividad is a project that basically, if my son is up for it, and I'm always up for it, I'm always doing some art, and he says, bring out the crayons and the paint, we just go for it, and I just document it because I think it's important for both of us, I and a larger audience. Let me get there. For me, it allows me to continue making. For my son, it's giving him an early experience and a pretty in-depth experience with art that he doesn't have to wait for. And lastly, I want to engage I guess my future goal for this is I want to engage fathers and understand. And I want them to understand that they can be creative with their children as well, and that can create a connection that maybe we haven't explored yet as a narrative for fathers, not fully, anyways. And so I'm trying to build on that, and that's a gradual process, and I'm not rushing it because I'll be a dad for a while.
Yep. yes, exactly. I think that's really inspiring, and certainly, people that are parents or have some sort of connection to kiddos, when you can do things together, obviously that's going to make it really meaningful. But sitting down next to your child or a loved one and, a niece or a nephew or whatever to create with them, I mean, how is that not creating memories and impacting their life completely? And hello, y'all, we got a group from Brazil. What's up?
Hey.
Or one here. So I think that's a really great reminder too, is to say sitting down with that loved one. So we had a question here about resources for Creatividad. Do you have anything as far as like an Instagram that you use, or how are you kind of documenting that process so we can be inspired by that journey?
Yeah, so at the moment I'm relying heavily on social media, specifically Instagram, because I just feel like that's the most rapid way to get information out to people. So Creatividad Project is the actual name of that, but it's that Instagram handle. But we can add that right to the information later. Okay, so yeah, that's just at Creatividad Project. I see there's a question there if I have a website. I do have a personal website, but I probably am not going to reveal that right now because it can probably use some updating. It's not out of date, certainly, but I just don't have my most recent content up there. But my social media, I mean, I put progress shots to complete. I'm just super transparent about my art. I have nothing I don't feel like I have to hide anything.
Yeah.
You know, and I just, because I enjoy that connection, and I just like the aspect of communicating with other people.
Yeah, completely. And so I guess hearing a little bit about that community, that connection with people, we had chatted just a little bit before about the fact that there's ways to create that can be more inspiring, right? So I know you believe, like, you like to create more in a social way, right? Or with lots of people. So can you give us some insight into like ideas for how you can create as an artist that's maybe going to fit a personality of a certain type of person, so we can still create as art educators?
Okay. So, you know, like you just said, my preference is to be in a social environment. I'd rather be around people. So some of my earlier experience when I was doing like a little metro area, I'm in New York, a little metro area tour with a group of other artists. I would, instead of working on the pieces on my own, I would schedule, I guess, studio time with the other artists. So I'd find out when they're working on their pieces, and I would purposely bring all of my materials and meet with them so that I can talk to them and share with them. And I feel like that gives you an opportunity to change your work as you're doing it, to receive on-site critique and criticism and just and ideas are just firing off. I think that's a great way to expand maybe what you had intended initially. It just looks completely different when you spend some time with other artists. So that's one way. There's others where it's like just doing live paintings at events, and the audience, maybe not the artists themselves, but people who I refer to them as the people who love art, because you know, they don't necessarily need to purchase the work. They can really be there just enjoying it, and being around them, and they can influence your work. Just the conversations that they're having in passing, you know, maybe they have questions about you, and that can spark interest, and you can get some growth from that. Sketching at restaurants or diners, or just places maybe that you wouldn't normally counters at bars, or, you know, I think those kind of places too give you another opportunity. You get to speak about your artwork. You know, you may end up with a possible client just out of the conversation, but really, again, it's the idea that art is our language, right? People, you know, I'm sure that people will say maybe like math is a universal language, right? But we can teach language through visuals. So at some point, you know, we have to capitalize on that too, that we speak a universal language. And I can just be drawing a picture and somebody will come over and say, hey, you're an artist. And then that conversation sparks off that way. Yeah, you know, and I guess what I want as an art teacher and as a fellow art teacher is I just want other art teachers to feel proud of their ability. I want them to care. I want them to feel so comfortable. And you're teaching kids all the time, and you have an ability that certainly not everybody has. So just go out there and share it, and it doesn't need to be in a gallery. I just named a bunch of different places where it's just, you know, anywhere. It could be at a park and somebody sees you with an easel doing plein air. They want to know what you're doing. The conversation is there, and you can connect with them.
Completely. It's beautiful. And I mean, there's so many ways to build that yourself, or to like search out ways that you can, you know, kind of make your own opportunities, right? So I'm hearing lots of great ideas about how that works. Now, of course, you know, you got to follow the restrictions of what the world currently looks like, but we know that like this isn't a forever thing. So drawing in a restaurant or a coffee shop is going to be a thing that you'll be able to do, or get together with people. And, you know, every week we're all going to bring our sketchbook and just draw for an hour and hang out, right? I know even like picture high school or college, or when you were like a younger version of yourself, when you go to class and your teacher is there teaching the class, but you're kind of just like independently doing your work as a higher level artist, right? You're still young, you're still like 19, 20, whatever, but you're just working and you're just chatting with people the whole time, and you're talking about what you're doing. Do you think I should have this color? What should I do here? It just it's like an art class, right? But you're the student. So that's what the kind of world is that we want to create for art teachers, right?
Yeah, yeah. You know what? And you're mentioning, we're currently living through a different time. That's actually how the podcast came about, because my my co-host and I, we just wanted to have a pop-up art exhibit in 2020, but we weren't able to do that. So we didn't want the momentum to stop. So we just started doing Zoom live paintings and discussions, and that was totally free of charge. That was just like, hey, you guys want to come watch us make art and talk? Like, here's the link. Come and hang out.
Completely. And I mean, even something as simple as, like, first of all, it is hard to not judge yourself or to practice that confidence. We feel that with our kids, right? When a kid is nervous to start drawing a line, or they want to keep erasing or whatever, like, that is a real true thing. But if you practice, then you can start to gain that confidence, or be able to, model what it looks like to make a mistake and work through that mistake. So maybe it's something as simple as, I shouldn't say simple, because obviously this is different levels for everyone else. But I know you were mentioning before that you would just paint on Instagram Live, right? So that people can kind of comment as you paint. You don't even really need to talk or do anything. But people just love to watch artists create, right? So maybe if that's a way that's going to encourage you to, and someone in the chat here to create, that's also an option, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you did that for people that are maybe not comfortable with that? Like, what might that look like? Do you have to, like, promote it, or do you just hop on and see who watches? Right.
So first, I think before I go any deeper, I gotta say, and I probably am making some of this sound a little easier than it, I guess it can be. Not everybody has that same opportunity, right? There's levels and layers. That's why I'm trying to give more than one example at each time. But I gotta thank my wife for giving me the opportunity to do it. So much stuff. So for Instagram Live, all I did was maybe like a day in advance, or maybe a few hours in advance, I would say, hey, I'm going to paint live, put up a post. It could be just a text post, or you can add it to your stories, and I'd say, I'm going to be live in 15 minutes. I'm going to be live in a half hour. And if somebody's interested in joining, they can join. And then if you end up making it a routine, maybe Thursday nights, people know, oh, you're about to do some live painting. Thursday nights, they start scheduling to hang out with you, because it's becoming part of their happening and what they're going to do. It was very easy back in the spring, because everybody was home, for me to just say, going live now. And the viewers would be there. I would be totally shocked, because at first, no matter how many times I do this, I'm always thinking, and I'm very grateful, like, why would people want to watch me work? And it's just that the connection is there. People want to watch. It's soothing to watch somebody else create something, to see how engaged they are in their practice. You could be motivating somebody to do something completely out of the realm of art, just because it's like, oh, this person is so dedicated to what they're doing. They're willing to share it in this manner. And for some artists, they're not willing to be that vulnerable. Like, that you're putting yourself in such a vulnerable position, because I can't even tell you, I spent more time making mistakes than I did actually completing the projects.
That's good.
That was cool. Yeah, it was completely fine, and it made it real. It made it an authentic experience for everybody who was present with me.
Completely. And I mean, certainly we know, as far as how we model for our students, that those mistakes and that problem solving and that real active creation is something that kids and adults, really anyone, can relate to, right? Because it reminds us we are all human. We're all, like, what is being an artist is just doing until you feel that it's done. And what does that look like, right? So, I mean, it's just a beautiful way to model being an artist. So, we could chat about so many more ideas, but I want people to think ahead about those of you. Hopefully give us like a whoop whoop, hands up in the air if y'all are joining the Art Ed Now conference on February 6th, because that would be awesome. There's going to be a bunch of great presentations, and Candido will be one of them, so you'll want to make sure you check that out. But I did want to ask one final question quick before we do our little sticker giveaway, which y'all need to make sure you hang around for. But who can you tell me just a little bit about kind of like some parting words or some advice as we enter the new year, right? We've got a lot of like thoughts about fresh starts in our head. So what do you feel like is a good mindset for entering the new year?
All right. So maybe this is going to sound a little simplistic, but we all underwent a tremendous transformation in the previous year. And I think I would tell people to spend some time with the things that they changed about them, that they enjoyed, that they feel like made them a better person, and understand that instead of depending solely on maybe resolutions for 2021, maybe consider it phase 2 to the change that we were taking, that we were undergoing in 2020, and build on that. So that's Perfect. It. That's all I want to say. Yeah.
Just like dropping truth bombs, Candido. It's so good. I was chatting with another friend too who reminded me that sometimes resolutions feel like pressure, but if it's rephrased into like an intention, right, then that feels less like if I don't do it, I'm doing a bad job. But instead, I intend to continue with this goal, or it's less like I'm doing a bad job if I can't get it right. So I think that's exactly it, right? Is to give yourself that that goal, that idea to just continue moving forward. So thank you so much, Candido. For those of you that haven't been joining the live or are here for the first time today, to give a special little treat for people that are watching the live, I have been asking a little question at the end of each chat. So I will mail you a beautiful rainbow holographic sticker that looks nothing like this. Just kidding. It looks kind of like this, but instead of it being blue, it'll be like rainbow and amazing. I just don't have them yet.
Yeah, so it looks really nice. I've seen it.
It's super dope, but I don't have them. So be patient, but I will promise I will send you one. So what I need you to do is, if y'all want a rainbow sticker, we're going to have a little trivia question. So the first person to answer this question in the chat is going to be, I'll message you and then you can tell me your address and I'll send you a sticker. Just a heads up, because internet is weird, I'm just going to go off of the first one that I see. Even if the chat is weird, it's just the first one that I see. And I promise I'm being truthful. Yeah. So here's the question. First person to answer gets a rainbow sticker. Question is, what is the date of the RDED Now conference? Ooh. You know, Candido, I know you know. Type it, people. I said it like 3 times. The suspense is killing me. Ooh, close, Dawn. Not tomorrow. You all are so close. It's cool. I'm going to give it to, whoops. Okay, my first one that I saw was, okay, Lavinia Smith Weiss, artist. So she said 6'2", but I assume it's 2'6" because of how we are different. Okay. Yes. So I'm gonna count that one. Lavinia, I'm gonna write your name down and then I will message you after this and you will get yourself a beautiful, awesome sticker. Yeah. Okay. Thank you all for joining us today. Thank you for participating. Be sure to give Candido a big old follow and a shout out, and I will be sure to link all of the things we talked about today in the Art of Ed story so you can follow those as well. So everybody have an amazing week. Candido, thank you, thank you, thank you. And I cannot wait to see your presentation on February 6th.
All right. Bye, everyone.
All right, y'all. We'll see you later. Bye.